Hi, everyone. Sorry, we were just muted for a quick second there.
Hey, this is Callista.
And this is Stephanie.
And so we got a lot of different people out here today. We got people from LA, BC and Canada, Florida, Texas. It's nice to see that we're getting viewers from all over joining us today. We're going to be talking about what's new with WonderFil. So this is going to be kind of not we're going to go into like education a little bit more lightly, but more like a show and tell of like all the fun things that we have going around right now and the different products that we have available. So all right, Steph, you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, so we're going to start off with our rinse away design sheet. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but this is one of our newest products here at WonderFil. So we wanted to share this product with you today and kind of show you how it works.
Hopefully the image is not flipped around from what you guys can see, but as it says rinse away right here, self-adhesive design sheet, and then on the left-hand side it says design, stitch, and rinse. And that's kind of the basic premise of this design sheet. We worked through many different prototypes to try and make the best one possible for easy stitching and easy sewing. Essentially, what we have here, and I have a sheet that's printed on already, but Callista's just going to pull one straight out of the packaging.
So there's going to be 10 that actually come in the package. So this is like hot off the press, like one of our newest items that we just, it's not even a month old yet, but you can see here, this is kind of how a sheet looks. This is the back. And if I hold it to the light, maybe you can actually see how thin the sheet is.
You can see my hand right
like
there.
You can see through it very easily, and it's very simple. You can print on this, you can draw on this, you can trace on this, and afterwards it's very easy to just peel the corner back. I got it here, and you can see it just peels and sticks. And I hope you can tell, but this is very thin. You can kind of see my finger through it to kind of give you an idea of how thin that is. And it sticks onto any like surface, like your cotton fabrics, and even our wool as well. You can stick it on wool, which is like a great way, and one of our favorite ways to use the product. So we'll give you guys some ideas on how you might want to incorporate this into like your sewing, or how it can be a useful tool in your sewing room.
Exactly. And one more thing to mention is the back is also gridded. So you can see out here, if you need to measure any designs, or if you're self-drawing, you can actually see the grid through the paper and be able to kind of measure out how big you might want some lettering or the size of like a little stencil. That can all be done because there's like the nice grid on the back. So we have here, one more thing to mention, it is 8.5 by 11. So you can just print on it like regular paper. You don't have to draw or trace, you can print on it. So we just have a couple samples here that I think we want to show you really quick. So this is a simple stencil that we just designed in the office right here. Here you can see the gridded paper in the back, and all you have to do is peel, and it's not hard to separate from the paper. You can just peel it off and stick it onto your fabric. So I have it pre-stuck onto a fabric, and I wanted to make a point here that I chose a dark fabric that has patterns on it. So I know sometimes people might have the question of like, will it show up if I'm like using a darker fabric? So it does. I have it right here, as you can see. I started doing a bit of a stem stitch here, and it shows up very clearly.
And this is actually one of the pros of using the rinse away design sheet as well, because when you actually have dark fabric or really patterned fabric, this one isn't even like super pattern, but there's some fabrics that are like really repetitive and difficult to see, even if you like draw on it with like a wash away pen or a iron away pen. It's still kind of or even like chalk, it can be difficult to see sometimes. So when you have something like the rinse away design sheet that you can just like put on top, it shows your lines a lot more clearly, so it makes it easier to do your work and things like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite features too, when we were doing all the prototyping and we did a lot of stitching to kind of find the best result, we made the actual design sheet here very thin, not just for traceability. for sewability. So it's very easy to stitch through. I have a pretty big needle here, and you don't have to put much force to actually go through it. And the highlight is you can do a lot of stitching and it won't gum up your needle. And that's my favorite thing, because I think many of us have used a similar product potentially in the past, and we have maybe some water or alcohol wipes on the side. You always have to clean off your needle because it can gum up over time, which affects your stitching and like how fun it is to actually stitch on this thing. And sometimes you're doing one stitch where you're going down and back up all in one movement. And that's hard if you're using a thicker sheet. So with this one, you're able to kind of still stitch almost just as you regularly would without any difficulty. And that's a great thing. Another plus too is we made sure that it's easily washable. So it doesn't require using hot water or even like really warm water or anything. You can just use room temp water and run it in under the sink for maybe like 1 minute. Depending on how dense your stitching is, if you have like a lot of stitching, you might need to just run it a little bit more, but it really just like melts away and you won't be left with lots of residue, or you won't need to like scrub your stitches, which can move stuff around. You can actually just let it run underwater and it'll like just disappear. So this is really awesome. Very excited about this product. Yeah.
So I know we've been showing like a lot of like hand stitching examples, but another way to use it, someone was actually asking, Susan asked if it could be used in the embroidery machine. And absolutely, that's actually another great way to use the rinse away design sheet. It's a great way to kind of like do thread painting and things like that in your sewing machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if some of you have attended some shows that we've done make and takes at. A lot of the times it's handwork, but we've done make and takes with sewing machines too. And at Sew Expo in Puyallup, Washington, one year, we had the sewing machines in our booth, and we had printed on a different version of this, but kind of like a similar stencil, and we just had people thread paint on top of it. So although it's not an embroidery machine, which you still can use for it, you can also just put it under your domestic machine needle too, and you can try some thread painting. Or if you want to try
free motion quilting.
Yeah, if you want to practice free motion quilting, you can maybe sketch out a stencil on here and try tracing it to get used to the movement of how you want to do your free motion.
Exactly. And it's easy to replicate like certain designs on your blocks and stuff when you're quilting. If you like kind of cut out the shape and you're like lining up to the block, you can also like lay it on top of your block and trace it onto there as well, and it's easy to like sew over top of, and it just washes away after.
Yeah, I think this is like a really fun product, and like you can also print on it and put it on whatever block or project and take it with you on the go. You don't have to pack the pen or whatever and wait till you iron it to make sure the pen goes away or washing it away.
And it's nice that it adds a little bit of like stabilization as well.
Yes.
And also you can also use this on like clothing or things that you don't want to like hoop and etc., things like that as well.
And so we have also put it on wool fabric. So something that I played around for the first time was like faux cross stitching. So essentially we just printed a grid out. In some cases it was already like kind of like pixel art that we found online already. And this was when I was just doing my first testing, and I just did a little faux cross stitch of a little grumpy cat here. And so that's the back. It doesn't look extra thick or gummy.
And this is on wool as well.
Yes, this is on merino wool. And so the next thing we had to do was, of course, recreate our little thread guy in pixel art. So some of you may be familiar with him, but this is our little thread guy, our little mascot. And all we did was print a grid, a pretty tight grid on this piece of paper, and then fill it in, like color in the blocks that you want to color. And this would be the outline for how we do a cross stitch, the faux cross stitch. And right here, I just have the stitched out sample of it.
So we got a question about whether the white thread will pick up the printer ink. It shouldn't. As you can see here, we actually did use white thread through those grids and everything that we printed. There's a color on here as well, and it did not pick up that
Any color.
black ink or like other colors.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we use like other lighter colors, like this one is yellow as well through that black.
And then the whole cat mouth area is actually white thread. I didn't have any issues with it picking up any color.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a big issue on that front.
So we're gonna have a new YouTube video about 9 ways to actually use the rinse away design sheet coming out tomorrow. So if you guys didn't know, we have an awesome YouTube channel filled with lots of like inspiration, education, application techniques, thread talks and things like that. So check it out if you're not subscribed already, but look out for the video coming out tomorrow. We already released one video on how to use the rinse away design sheet, but tomorrow's video will be showing you all the different methods of applying it to your work.
Just ideas for what you can potentially do with this.
Yeah, it kind of goes over in a little bit more detail, like what we talked about here, but that'll be a great way for you to kind of like check out this new product. So yeah, we're really excited about it and hope you guys are too. Will the rinse away design sheet be available in Australia and the UK? Yes, they will be. This will be a regular WonderFil product, so they will be available in Australia and the UK as well. Okay, so let's talk about the next thing. We have so much color to talk about, actually, because we've expanded colors on so many thread lines. So we kind of need to share all of that today as well.
Yeah, I think for any of you who might be long-term followers of WonderFil, you might have seen the change throughout the years. And finally, we have decided to expand our color line for Confetti. That's our 50 weight, 100% double gassed, long staple Egyptian cotton.
That's right. Just a quick question. Someone asked New Zealand as well. Yes, the rinse away design sheet will be available in New Zealand as well. Yeah. So Stephanie is talking about it. This is our Confetti. It's the perfect, just like quilting thread, all around go-to thread if you don't know what to use. It's long staple, so there's less lint on it, but as well, we double gas all of our Egyptian cotton thread, which means that we actually gently remove the lint from the thread through a process called gassing, and it removes 80% of that lint. And we do this process twice, so you get a very low lint cotton thread, and it's, like I said, it's really awesome. It's been a favorite amongst a lot of our customers, so we decided to expand on the thread, on the color selection available.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just like a small sampling. They're all available individually as well, but we also have them available in new packages and colorways like this. And so these are fun little packs. This one's called Vintage Veranda. This one's called Crystal Lagoon.
This one is called Macaroons right there. That's actually a really gorgeous neutral set. We have Peony Blooms right there.
Perfect for spring.
My personal favorite, Key Lime Pie. I love how vibrant these colors are. So something you'll notice if you've used Confetti before is our original 60 colors were a little bit more muted. And I think literally for the whole, like, for at least 5 years, I've always heard people say, oh, I wish you had this in a brighter color, or like, oh, I wish it wasn't so muted, because our original 60 were a little bit more
blendy,
more vintagey kind of colors.
Yeah.
But these new 60 that we've now put in some packs, these are definitely more of the modern, brighter colorways.
And this isn't all of them. This is just kind of like a small sampling of them, but there's 60 new colors as well that are all available, and you can see them all in our color cards or on our website. And I love this comment that we got, which was that Amy loves doing machine embroidery with Confetti because it doesn't gunk up her machine. So I love hearing that. Yes, because of the low lint, it really doesn't gunk up your machine. And if you haven't tried before, cotton is actually amazing for embroidery.
It's actually one of my favorite looks, yeah, because it almost gives like this handmade kind of look or texture to it. Rayon is still, of course, really gorgeous, but I think like cotton embroidery is a little bit underrated. So I love the look.
I think the thing is like with our cottons, especially because they are also mercerized, so the colors are very saturated and actually have a really nice lustrous sheen on the thread. It doesn't look like super matte or fuzzy at all. It's actually a really clean thread, and it gives a really nice soft luster that's almost like vintagey, like softer look,
Yeah.
like what Amy was saying. And thanks for getting all the new hacks already.
Yeah.
You are a huge fan. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you are dealing with cotton, I know like everyone's like cotton's matte, and yes, cotton's matte, but when you have a clean cotton, when Callista's mentioning like luster to cotton, I know it sounds like a paradox a little bit, but when you have a very lintless cotton, I can just hold this up. You can kind of see the light reflecting off the front of the spool here, and that's because it's like Krista said, it's very low lint. If you had a very linty cotton thread, it wouldn't be able to reflect the light very well. So, yes, I love this thread as well.
Speaking of cotton, we have another cotton thread to talk about, which is our 60 weight Aina. So Aina is actually a 2-ply. Again, it's 100% Egyptian cotton, also gassed as well. And this one is a 60 weight, so it's a little bit thinner than Confetti. Confetti is a 3-ply 50 weight, and this is a 60 weight 2-ply, so it's a little bit thinner. And originally it actually only came in these like about 150 meter spools, and it was intended for people to mainly do applique with. That's why we only had them available in the small size. But actually we got so many people telling us that they loved the Aina for piecing.
Do you see the trend? The more people tell us, we'll be like, okay, let's try to make this happen.
Yeah. So if you guys love a certain product, let us know, because maybe they'll turn into the next WonderFil product.
Yeah. So like Calista said, people really liked it for piecing, but as you guys know, I'm sure many of you are quilters. You go through a lot of thread even if you're piecing. So this little spool was definitely not enough. And a lot of people were asking, can you make them in bigger spools? Can you make them in bigger spools? To the point where we were working with some of our teachers and we had to custom make larger spools of Aina so they could use it in their classes. But now, eventually, we do have them in larger spools. So this has about 1,500 yards, I believe, on it.
Yep.
So that's 500 more yards than the Confetti spool. So that's pretty crazy, right? There's 500 more yards of thread on this spool versus Confetti, just because it's a lighter weight thread. And that makes it really nice for piecing, like what Calista said too. And of course, you can still do handwork with it as well, but you'll get these really nice flat seams.
Yeah. So let's show everyone the collection of Aina we have.
Okay, let me just sneak away really quick. We got to do a quick camera switch.
Yeah, we're gonna do a quick camera switch. So Stephanie's just gonna hop on the other camera. But in the meantime, I'm actually gonna answer a question that we got earlier, which was, can you use Confetti thread for sewing clothes? So Confetti is 100% Egyptian cotton. It's got no stretch in the thread whatsoever. So while you can use it in clothing, like maybe more for like hemming something, or kind of like, like hemming something or taking something in, but like if you're going to be using it on like a joint of part of your clothes, like especially where there's like a lot of movement, you actually don't want to use a thread that doesn't stretch in those areas, because that's how you can like pop a seam really easily. Because the cotton isn't going to like stretch, it's not going to move with the way you move. You actually do want to use something that's more like an all-purpose polyester more often for garment construction, because again, it's about not getting those seams to pop or having your thread break when you're wearing your clothes. And an all-purpose poly is a little bit better for instances like that. And we do have one, and it's called Designer. Okay, so now I'm going to bring the camera back to Stephanie. I'm going to remove myself for a minute so then she can show you all the new Aina colors. So let me just add Stephanie to the stage here. Okay, yeah. Okay, I wonder if I can bring this screen up a little bit more. So, yeah. So you can see here, I know it's a little bit dark in the room. You'll be able to see the photos a little bit better. And our awesome behind the scenes team member Bethany is like sharing all these super helpful links in the comments. So Bethany can also share a link to Afina so you guys can see all those colors just on your computer screen a little bit better. But here's just kind of like a quick glance at everything. So again, this is an awesome thread. It's a 60 weight 2-ply Egyptian cotton. That's fantastic for piecing. Yeah. And while Stephanie's at it, we're going to talk about DecoBob because DecoBob's a fan favorite and we have expanded the collection. So we worked with Verushka from Pride and Joy Quilting to help us choose these new colors. And originally they only came in smaller spools in her collections, but now they're all available individually as well in larger spool sizes. So you can see all the different colors here. So now you can see Afina and DecoBob, both of the ranges. Super nice colors to choose from. Both of them are lighter weight threads, so they're fantastic for piecing. Stephanie, did you want to show the color card at a glance?
Yeah. So there's an updated color card. So for any of you DecoBob fans, you might need to get a hand on this new color card. So now this is fully expanded to the 60 colors, almost double the amount.
You got it. All right. Thanks, Steph.
No problem.
Okay. Awesome. So we just got a question is Afina good for long arm quilting? I think in terms of long arm quilting, if you're going to go for a cotton, I think I like the look of Confetti a little bit more. I find that it sits really nicely on top of the fabric, and I find it works really well in the long arm machine. But if you're looking for like a thread that's not going to show as much, then I would actually go to the DecoBob for a long arm quilting where it's going to hide a little bit more. And for those of you guys that don't know what DecoBob is or have never tried DecoBob before and you're like, why are you expanding on this thread line? So DecoBob is one of our, I'd say, most popular thread lines at WonderFil. It's used a lot for piecing or foundation paper piecing.
It's a very, I would say it's probably number one when it comes to versatility.
Yep.
First, it's all of our pre-wound bobbins.
Yes.
That's what all our pre-wound bobbins are made of. So that ensures all the piecing and quilting will have DecoBob in it for sure. But in different applications, aside from piecing and quilting, there's like stitch in the ditch. You can do applique with it, hand or machine applique with it. You can serge with it. You can embroider with it. I think the possibilities of DecoBob are really endless because it can be a decorative element in the case that if you are quilting with it, it hides the thread but shows the texture of your quilting. But you can also use it where you just don't want to see the thread, like those like applique type things. And just like hopping back to if you are looking for a cotton for quilting, we have quilted with Afina before. Because it is a 60 weight cotton, it is a little bit more delicate, I would say, especially when it's going through certain layers of batting and fabric. So you would have to go quite a bit slower, whereas Confetti, you won't really have any issues with going your regular speed. Again, Afina, you can, but I would say you just have to make certain adjustments to maybe like yourself in terms of like just going like a little bit slower. If your quilt is lightweight, I don't see any issue at all. But if you are going through more like heavyweight quilting cotton, like a batik or something, I probably would just switch to DecoBob.
Yep. Okay, so the last cotton thread that we have to talk about is Spaghetti. So that is our 12 weight, 100% Egyptian cotton thread. It is also double gassed and mercerized like all the other Egyptian cotton threads that we've talked about so far. And so this one is becoming a really popular one as well because as more people do like big stitch quilting or even like big stitch in the binding and things like that, or using it in the serger.
I would also say like after, we've gone to QuiltCon for quite a few years now. I'd say if any of you guys are like modern quilters, this type of really bold quilting, but maybe more simple in terms of like quilt design, like matchstick quilting, we've seen a lot of this 12 weight usage because it creates like a really bold look without kind of going too many different directions. that you
Exactly.
go to.
And also another big trend that we're seeing is decorative serging.
Oh, yes.
So I know Gail is in here, and Gail is amazing. If you guys want to learn any like decorative serging techniques, you should definitely look her up on her YouTube channel because she has amazing tutorials.
Her name is Gail Yellen.
Yeah. But that's another thing that we're seeing a lot is using the 12 weight and the sergers for that decorative serging. And so we've actually come up with a new pack with expanded spaghetti colors that we worked with Susan Cleveland on.
Who
and
chose the first 5-pack colors.
Yep. And we also have these colors sold individually as well. But these are a nice little like pastel-y set that's called frostings. And so you can see all of the pretty colors right here. And so that's just expanding on our 12 weight thread line. And if you guys have never tried any of these like types of weights or threads before, we actually have awesome little like sampler packs available that you could always try and see how you like the thread and things like that.
Yeah, they're literally called heavyweight sampler or like lightweight thread sampler, serger sampler, like things like that. You can kind of take a look if you're not too sure yet. It's a great way to try and see what you like.
Exactly. Okay, and then I think something that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen us posting about, but we just want to talk about it again because we're talking what's new with WonderFil, and this just got released finally, the patterns this week at WonderFil is our bird watcher block of the month. So like we mentioned earlier, this comes with 2 different patterns this year. It's going to come with an FPP version, and you can see here
we created it in a vintage and modern colorway.
And so these are the FPP patterns. And then we also have them with the little wool birds. And these are so cute. And actually, what's amazing about the wool is we have them available with pre-cuts now. So you can get the whole block of the month with all the pre-cut wool. It's going to come out with all these shapes already pre-cut and the instructions inside to show you like all the stitches and how everything is supposed to be laid out. And it's an awesome way to get into wool applique and wool stitching. Embroidery. Because actually this was all designed by Stephanie and it's made so it's approachable for like people that are like new to wool, and then she kind of increases the difficulty a little bit of some of the stitches that she brings on as the blocks go throughout. So it's an awesome way to kind of like do wool applique and like learn along the way, and it's like a cute little fun project.
Yeah, I definitely tried to keep in mind that not everyone is of course an expert hand embroidery person, but I do want to keep the table open that I would absolutely love to see what people create. You can go crazy with this thing if you want, but like Calista said, the first few months are a little bit more simple. I try to add just maybe 1 new stitch for sure every block. And then as we get later on to the year, I might add more like combos, variations, and new stitches like that as you advance yourself too, to become maybe more of a hand embroidery person or like a hand stitcher. And you can see the journey throughout the year of how your hand stitching has evolved. Exactly. But yeah, this is a really fun project. I really loved stitching it. The birds are so cute.
If you guys aren't already on our newsletter list, make sure you join so you can get access to all of this. And also make sure you join our Facebook page as well. The community has grown a lot in this last week because I think we have a lot of new people joining our block of the month this year, and they're all excited. And it's crazy. We released the pattern yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
And like there's already like so many completed blocks on there. So it's really awesome to see the passion from everyone in the group and all the little variations that everyone's doing.
Yeah, everyone's using their own fabric stash and everything. And for those of you that didn't know about our block of the month last year or are just learning about this year's block of the month, our patterns are actually free. So every month we're releasing a free pattern. So it's really easy to join and stitch along from your fabric scraps you have at home or your wool scraps that you have at home to create this quilt. We do have some threads that do pair with the block of the month. If you if you need some thread to make it, if you have some elegans or confetti and stuff like that to make it at home, of course you can.
The first thing is they come in adorable tins.
This is for the wool one.
This is for the wool one.
Yeah.
But you can also get the tins individually as well if
This
you
is
get
true.
the other threads. But comes in these really cute embossed tins, and then they perfectly fit 9 eleganza balls inside.
So I'm holding the variegated colorways, so you can, I'll kind of hold it up. These are all variegated colors. Every single color that you see here, all 18 are incorporated into the quilt.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And then along with the handwork, we do have the applique pack. So like Calista was mentioning, you can buy these wool pieces pre-cut, and if you choose to do so, we have the exact perfect match of the thread that will be able to applique those pieces down, because our Alana wool thread is a 100% match to our merino wool fabric. So yes, this just goes along with our wool project there.
Yeah, and then if you're doing the FPP version, we actually have 2 sets available as well, which is a piecing set with that DecoBob that we talked about earlier, because it's the best option for your foundation paper piecing.
Yeah, and then this is one of the new colors of the DecoBob too.
Absolutely, and it's fantastic because you can really reduce your stitch length when you do foundation paper piecing with DecoBob. It's going to give you actually flatter seams than using like a 50 weight top and bottom, for example, and it's going to give you more precision because that seam is, or those stitches are smaller, and it also gives you a tighter seam as well. So it's going to be easier to actually pull that paper out because it perforates the paper a bit more when you have those smaller stitches as well. So it's absolutely amazing.
And then this is the second pack for the foundation paper piecing one. This is to quilt your quilt once you're done. So this just has coordinating colors with the birds, so you can decorate it however you want. And I just saw a quick question about hooping wool, and Bethany has answered it here. No, you don't need a hoop wool. It's one of my favorite mediums to work with because it's extremely easy to learn on. First of all, when you're putting a needle through wool and you put it in the wrong spot, you pull it out, there won't be any hole. So that's great news, because sometimes on quilting cotton, you have to be a little bit more mindful of like picking the right spot to pull your needle through so there's no big hole that you leave behind. And another thing too is, if you'll just pass the wool sample over here for me. I personally knot my thread before I pull it through the front. So in cross stitching, for example, sometimes you won't knot your thread because it'll create lumps in your fabric. But with wool, since it has loft to it, it's pretty thick, you'll never feel the knots from the front, even if you have a bunch of knots on the back. So I mean, I'm exposing myself a little bit here, but you can see all the knots right here that I've put down, and you wouldn't be able to tell from the front. It actually all lays just as flat, and that's the beauty of wool. I love that. So just
yeah, so if you're not already part of it, we hope you guys join, because I think this is a really fun pattern this year, and I'm really excited to see. And so many people are already sharing, so it's fun to have like a bigger group. So the more the merrier. And just to answer another question that came up earlier, which was, can I use 12 weight up and 50 weight in the bobbin? Yes, you can use 12 weight in the top and 50 weight in the bobbin. We personally use 12 weight on the top and 80 weight in the bobbin. So that DecoBob, we use it for everything. No matter we have a 12 weight on top all the way to 100 weight, we always just use that 80 weight in the bobbin. It just reduces the bulk in whatever you're doing, which is always nice and makes your work softer and not as stiff, and the thread goes a further distance as well.
Yeah, so for example, we have the DecoBob pack here that we talked about piecing for. If you do choose to buy the quilting pack as well, just use the DecoBob in the bobbin, and you don't have to wind the same thread onto the bobbin. You can just use the DecoBob in the bobbin.
You will for sure have enough.
Yes, you will absolutely have enough for piecing and having it in your bobbin for everything.
Exactly. And so lastly, oh, sorry, one more question was, when using the 12 weight, do you reduce your tension? So this is a good question, because like, I don't know what everyone's tension is set at. Some people might be at
the dials
high
are different,
or low, and it's hard to say, and I can't consistently be like,
it's a 3.
It's like increase your tension or lower your tension. What you should always do is just like stitch on what you're going to sew on, like the same type of if you're doing sewing on a quilt sandwich, test on a quilt sandwich. Don't just test on a single layer of fabric if you're going to do that, and see if your bobbin thread is being pulled up or your top thread is being pulled down. See how the balance is like. And if you notice your top thread is going down, you might want to tighten it up on the top a little. And if you notice your bobbin thread is coming to the top, you want to loosen your top tension a little. So just kind of play around with your machine and see like when you increase it or decrease it, what it does, because it really helps you understand how tensioning works in your machine.
Yeah, but a notable thing about using 12 weight is when you go up in your thread weight, when you go up to a heavier thread weight like a 12 weight, you do want to increase your needle size to about a 90
Yeah, 90-14 top stitch.
Yeah, everyone's like, what's the other number? 90-14 top stitch. You can also go up to 100, but we found that 90-14 top stitch is usually fine for 12 weight. And you want to increase your stitch length. So if you imagine the stitching on denim jeans, for example, you see those like big, beautiful stitches. That's similar to a 12 weight usually. So you just want to increase your stitch length a little bit so you get these nice defined stitches. And the same logic would apply to when you're using DecoBob, is since it's a thinner thread, you want to decrease your needle size to a 70-10 or an 80-12. And then also decrease your stitch length. And that would be really important, especially for foundation paper piecing.
So in terms of what else is new with us, where is WonderFil going to be next? So if you're in North America, we're going to be at Paducah next month, and we actually have a make and take at our booth. So some of our events, we're actually going to have make and takes and things like that. So if you're at that show, make sure you come to our booth and sign up, because we have like free little sit down projects that people can do with us and try out the product.
Yeah, I think for Paducah, you'll have the opportunity to stitch on the rinse away design sheet. You'll have the opportunity to stitch on wool. I know that little thread guy I showed you for faux cross stitch, he'll be at the make and take too. So there's going to be lots of fun projects at Paducah, and our booth will also be quite large there. So there's going to be lots to see.
For anyone going to Europe, we're actually going to be at WonderFil, which is also next month as well, in Nantes in France. So Stephanie's going to be teaching a little bit in the workshop area, and we're also going to have a booth, and we'll also be with Verushka from Pride and Joy Quilting, which will be super exciting. She'll have an exhibition of all her quilts there, which will be super awesome. So if you guys are going to be in Europe, you can find us there. And I think also AQC in Australia is on this month, so we'll be there.
It's coming up too.
So there's lots of places to find WonderFil in the upcoming month. So make sure that you're subscribed to our newsletter, because we'll share all our whereabouts. But I think that's it for what's new with us, what's happening. If you guys liked this, please let us know, because we've never done a what's new or kind of just like a little update.
It's more like a casual, we're just talking through stuff, showing what we have. If you like these kind of sit downs, or maybe we can do just like showing different samples for inspiration. This is 12 weight, this is 100 weight. We can always do those. We're very responsive to how you guys present your feedback, as you can see with the new thread colors and all of that. So any feedback is really valued. And thank you everyone so much for taking the time out of your day to attend our little chit chat, our little update.
Yeah, and we're going to maybe be doing some stitching videos with Stephanie as well. So make sure you're following along, because there's lots of great content to come. And like I said, if there's anything that you guys want to see more of, or if you want us to do more lives where we're just chatting with you guys and talking about, like, I don't know, like anything, or like maybe we're like showing samples, or like just kind of more like light education, let us know. We can definitely put that on.
Okay, and I don't see any more questions. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yep. And so have a happy Thursday.
Yeah, the weekend's rolling around. I'm not sure if any of you guys are in or around Calgary, Alberta, but we just got a massive snow dump. It's been snowing for over 24 hours.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people said the S word, which is spring. So Calgary was like, not yet, and like gave us another snowstorm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. But yeah, hope you guys are having beautiful weather where you're at. And thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.